This is the Grand Canyon, and this is what a copper mine looks like. Most geologists say the canyon was formed by the Colorado River millions of years ago, but some of their colleagues have pointed out many inconsistencies with that theory. They think it might have been an ancient mine. Before you label this theory crazy, take a look at strip mines around the world. For example, look at this one in Utah. Don't you think in a million years rain and wind won't erode it to look like the Grand Canyon? It's cut into the earth with circular, stepped levels. The Grand Canyon has nearly identical patterns. It was just rendered smoother due to the pass of time. I saw some sense in this theory and I started my investigation with the hope to debunk it. Despite all of this, I started asking questions, and the most obvious one was, is there anything to mine in the Grand Canyon? If the answer was no, then this conspiracy is bonkers. It's debunked. But it turned out this conspiracy isn't so easy to dismiss, because the Grand Canyon is the richest place in copper and uranium deposits in the entire continent. It's the perfect place for a mine. Looking at uranium deposit maps in the USA, you don't need to be a geologist to point out that the highest concentration is in the Grand Canyon. The reserves in the canyon are so high that in 2009, the US government had to place a ban on new uranium claims around the canyon. Before that, there was a full-blown uranium rush. Thousands of claims had already been filed. Everyone wanted to mine around it. Many areas in the canyon still have radiation warning signs because of the rich uranium deposits. And some people claim to have found ancient machine marks in the canyon. Of course, this we cannot easily validate. Even if there were real marks, they would be too weathered to distinguish from natural corrosion. Also, you might say the canyon having uranium and copper deposits doesn't prove it was a mine. Yes, but it proves it's the best possible place on the continent for a mine. So we're making some progress. Let's compare the Grand Canyon to other canyons. The Grand Canyon is unlike any other river canyon in the entire continent. It's steeper than usual, it's much bigger and much deeper. And strangest of all, it has a stepped structure just like strip mines and quarries do. The tiered structure that we find in quarries and mines usually requires heavy machinery like rotary excavators. These machines leave marks like these, and some claim to have found similar marks in the Grand Canyon. Now, it's obvious such marks can form from erosion as well, so they're not solid proof either. But what's interesting is that not very far in Utah, there's an advanced prehistoric quarry that nobody can disprove. It's massive, and the rocks are clearly cut in geometric cubes in sizes that are impossible to move without machines, and these chunks are missing. So it's obvious that someone advanced inhabited North America thousands of years ago, and we don't know who. So instead of trying to prove a point that's very hard to prove, let's try to do what science often does, debunk the other thesis and build from there. The other thesis is that the river formed the canyon. And the biggest argument in favor of that is that there's a river there. The Colorado River flows inside the canyon. So then why are we looking at marks if the river is there? Isn't that proof enough? Well, to me it seems as if the river is meandering a bit too much. And that happens with young rivers, not old ones. Rivers that flow for long, or older rivers, they usually flow in straighter lines because they erode whatever is in their way because of gravity. For a million-year-old river, the Colorado is flowing in a natural way. And hundreds of geologists have pointed the same thing. Not only does the Colorado River meander too much, at one point it also cuts straight through an elevated plateau called the Kaibab Plateau. It is the highest part of the region, and rivers usually follow paths of least resistance. They flow around high elevations, not through them. They follow gravity. So how come the Colorado River carved through a rising plateau without being diverted? Why am I asking so many questions about the river? Well, think about it for a second. If the river has been here for millions of years, wouldn't it flow in a more linear fashion? And since it's not flowing in a linear fashion, what if the river wasn't what caused the canyon and it just inhabited it later? If we can build a case for that, we can safely say something else formed it because it sure as hell doesn't look like a river canyon. That's why many of the researchers believe something else is going on. What if the river wasn't what caused the canyon and it just inhabited it later? So I decided to look for old maps to see if the river was flowing differently at some point in time. And look what I found. I found an old map from 1898, and this map shows something strange. The Colorado River used to flow in a completely different direction. According to the map, the river didn't even go through the Grand Canyon back then. The blue line is the old channel through which the water flowed. And in red, I've marked the new one, which passes through the Grand Canyon. I repeat, the old Colorado River doesn't go through the canyon according to this map. And this map is quite easy to read. Here you can see San Diego and the Gulf of California. If we follow the rivers from there, you can see where they used to go. I wasn't sure if the map was accurate, so I decided to check it with a satellite. I looked for the old river path that the map shows. And it exists. It's the one that goes around the canyon. It's dry now, but it exists. And I actually found it. The satellite pictures match the old map perfectly. When I trace this old river path all the way back, it goes to the same place in the Rocky Mountains where the Colorado River starts today. So it looks like there was another river here. And it might have been the Colorado that changed direction sometimes after 1898. Instead of going around the canyon like it used to, it now flows straight through it. So why isn't this mentioned anywhere? Maybe there were two rivers here and just the one dried up, but who knows? There is only one other way I can think of that would help me verify if the Colorado River existed before 1828. And that's for me to check literature from that time. If the Colorado River wasn't in the canyon before the 1800s, there would be no mentions of literature of the river being in the canyon in earlier history. So I dig deep, but I found one expedition from the year 1540, where a Spanish explorer, Francisco de Coronado, supposedly visited the Grand Canyon. He described the Great River. Historians still argue the exact location of Coronado's visit, and since he didn't use a map or name the river, it's uncertain whether he was visiting the Colorado or whether he visited another river. He described a massive canyon so deep the bottom looked like a small stream. But there are speculations he could have visited other rivers like Rio Puerco or San Juan River. San Juan's canyon matches Coronado's description 100% as well. So there's a real chance he visited that river instead of the Colorado. But this is the only literary mention of the river in the canyon. There are no other historical accounts before 1828, so this remains a mystery. We will never know if this river really formed the canyon or not. But if we take this idea global, have you ever noticed how remote regions like Greenland, Tibet, or Antarctica have mountains that look like they've been sliced open, with flat, even tops, straight walls, benches? Could these be ancient quarries too? Modern quarries use rotary excavators the size of residential complexes. They chew through rock, one tier at a time, and they leave behind clean, flat steps. You can see the same terracing not only in the Grand Canyon but in other mountains that are not canyons and are not supposedly formed by rivers. How come they have the same structure? According to the theory, they were all excavated, mined by someone a long time ago. Some of our current machines dig 130-foot layers in one go. That scale fits perfectly with what we see in the canyon. And another very interesting similarity is that all quarries require to have a flat floor so machinery can move. And just like them, the canyon floor is flat as a table, ideal for machinery movement. Of course, there's a mainstream scientific explanation, and it is that the canyon formed over millions of years through a combination of tectonic movements, uplifts, and the flow of the river. The land slowly rose while the Colorado River gradually cut downward, maintaining its course as the plateau lifted beneath it. According to this model, the stepped appearance is a natural result of differential erosion, where softer layers wore away faster than the harder rock. To me, that also sounds possible. It's a clean theory, and it explains a lot, but it also requires everything to happen in near-perfect sync. Land rises smoothly, the river keeps cutting down without changing direction for millions of years. And maybe that's exactly what happened. Or maybe not, because the truth is, the simplest explanation is most often the correct one, but not always. I'm Dank Sissoko, and thank you for watching Into the Unknown. If you're interested in natural phenomena or formations that might not be so natural after all, join me for the next episode and take a look at a 2 billion-year-old nuclear reactor I found in Africa.